go? Or
So we want to see a stable and strong government established that has very much a coherent policy at the centre, and that's why we'll be taking this week and next week to try and build a programme which works and lasts 5 years, so we can implement the policies that we set out in our own manifesto, and indeed other parties who have a similar mandate. I think you want to see a majority, at least with the early 90s, as at a minimum. But you want to have some buffer of strength, so that you have a majority that can work. And we know different governments face challenges. That previously the government chief whip, but I know that you have to have a buffer to ensure that majority lasts and sustains over 5 years. We're going to engage properly with interested parties, and we can share a common policy platform. So obviously we'll have further engagement. Our party leader Micheál will be meeting with Simon Harris later today and engaging further with them. There'll also be engagements between other parties and indeed independents, and we will try and build a common programme which will last 5 years, and I'm confident that we'll be able to do that over the next number of weeks.
Do you prefer Labour or independence in that sense? Because independence can be a bit more wayward and harder to control than a bloc like Labour.
I think policy is the key ingredient that will allow a government to sustain and last for 5 years. We've worked well with Labour in the past, and other governments have worked well with Labour. They've been a constructive voice in the last Dáil, for example, and similarly with independents who've played a constructive role in the last number of years. So very much open-minded to both as an option for government formation, but it really is about policy and how we can put a coherent programme for government together that will work and last for 5 years, and that's what we're focused on.
And do you envisage the Mercosur trade deal being a big kind of potential sticking point in coalition talks, or will it be more likely that Fianna Fáil and the Independents and others are on quite the same page in opposing it?
Well, I think you've seen across the political spectrum in Ireland long-standing concerns relating to the Mercosur deal. That's something that Minister Micheál spoke earlier on about, where we'll have to scrutinise this from what's been agreed. And there are issues in terms of environmental protection, sustainability, and indeed concerns relating to farmers, which we have to assess now over the next period. And again, the collective politics and body politic in Ireland has had extensive concerns about this over a long period of time, and we have to get the Commission out to set out what type of agreement they've come to, and obviously Ireland will assess that.
Do you see yourself being back here in a month's time as Finance Minister? And what do you make about Fine Gael's sort of red line on a small business supports package? Would you be favourable to that?
Well, look, it'll be a matter for conclusion of government talks and what position I'm in, and always happy to serve in whatever role, and that's something that'll be a matter for party leaders to decide who occupies this role. Look, we'll engage very extensively as part of programme for government discussions on what type of supports we'll provide for businesses. We did provide supports in the context of Budget 2025. The Power Up scheme was extended, and there's other supports as well around the budget, which we agreed a number of weeks ago. Obviously, it's for broader discussions, and we have to give discussions and engagement the time and space and respect between the different parties in terms of what will or won't be agreed around all aspects of government policy, and I'm prepared to engage with all my colleagues in a constructive way on that.
And finally, on the coalition talks, do you envision it being an either or in terms of Labour or Independents, or do you think there could be any circumstance where there's a coalition of Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, Labour and a bulk of Independents?
I think it's too early to say. I think would there be bilateral engagement between different parties and independents, and that will form the basis of whether we can have a continued and extensive talk. So it's too early to say. We're at the early starting point around what's possible, and seeing if we have a basis to formalise kind of deeper discussions around putting forward a government programme for government and putting it together. So it's too early to say what the actual construct will be, except to say that there are a number of interested parties, and unlike maybe the last two general elections, there's a clear route to form a government to give political stability and over a period of 5 years, which I think is centrally important for Ireland as we face international economic headwinds which are well documented.
Is that December or early early January, do you think, before that will all be wound up and tied with a bow?
I think it'll certainly go into early January. Obviously, we've the Dáil's meeting on the 18th of January. It's highly unlikely we'll have a government formed at that point, and that brings us to early January. And I think we have to give the talks the level of intensity which are required, so that we don't have an endless process. But I think it's going to go into January before we have a government formed. But I'd be hopeful that during that month we should be able to have extensive talks and hopefully conclude them with the view to form.
Muy positivo para ambas áreas, que se crea la zona de libre comercio más grande del mundo con acceso a 750 millones de consumidores, con un impacto muy positivo tanto para la Unión como